Hello, and welcome to the Self-Care with Herbs segment of the Elder Tree podcast. I'm your host, Jess Bosker, naturopath, herbalist, and medicine maker. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the Banjalang people, the traditional custodians of the land on which I live, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Now, come along and join me each month for beautiful conversations with guests from across the country, exploring ways we can weave plant medicine into our days to enrich our experience of self-care, sharing routines, rituals, and recipes for elevating mind, body, and spirit. What happens when we nurture a connection with our inner child? When we treat the imagination as a source of inspiration and keep our eyes, ears, and hearts open. Alyson Maier has had a deep connection with the plant world since early childhood, when she would wait expectantly for the maybush in her garden to flower each year, and then gather blooms to create a circle for her daily meditation. Like many of us though, through childhood, Alyson was told, "It's just your imagination," as if it was false or unimportant. But like she says, what if the Wright brothers never imagined flying a plane? Luckily, Alyson continued to treasure her imagination and today has a deep connection with the spirit world. Alyson's a naturopathic herbalist, children's author, Andean Medicine Carrier, and award-winning herbal tea curator based on the Sunshine Coast of Australia. She's passionate about helping people reconnect with their traditional origins to rediscover the medicine within. During our chat, Ali shares her passion for the role of storytelling in preserving herbal knowledge and the transformative power of nature in our lives. Hello, Alyson, and welcome to the Self-Care with Herbs segment of the Elder Tree podcast. We've been lucky enough to already have you on our education segment with Twiggy. So for our listeners, if you haven't listened to that interview yet, you can go back and hear Alyson on that segment. But for today, we're going to be talking all about self-care, and I'm really excited to chat with you.
Hi, Jess. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really interested to find out more of your story, Ali. So a way that I really love to peel back the layers with guests is to ask the question about how did your relationship with plant medicine begin? Where did that first little spark arise for you?
This took me right back to my childhood, Jess. Do you know, it wasn't a plant medicine in the way that you probably think that I'm going to answer the question. It was more on the meditation scale. So we had this maybush in our garden, and that's not a herb, but it was medicine for me. And it would flower every September because, of course, it's a European plant, so it flowers in September, not May. And I would wait all year for it to come into flower, and I'd pick its flowers, and then I would put my candle and flower circle around for me to do my meditations in. And about this same time, and I didn't realize that I was kind of doing meditations because I was quite young, and at the same time I'd won a colouring in competition at school. And I got to be the first pick of the bookstall. So I got to go out and pick what book I wanted for free. And the book that I actually picked was The Guide to Natural Therapies as like a 10-year-old.
Wow.
And it had moxibustion in it and massage in it and herbal medicine. And it just, I think, it was obviously something that I'd had a curiosity for, and it planted a greater seed, and I've still got the book. This book has travelled the world with me, and I've still got the book. So, yeah, I guess that's where my journey with plants really began. And I grew up on a property.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story, Ali. To be so connected that early is amazing.
Well, it's just a natural curiosity, I think, isn't it? And, you know, you hear the stories of the kids that make their mud pies and their potions and stuff like that. And for me, I really remember that meditation and massage were the two prominent things. And I remember from that book, I taught myself how to give massage to my sister.
Wow.
And I'd give her these massages, and she'd always say to me, I wonder if she's going to listen to this podcast. She'd always say to me, you do me first, and then I'll massage you afterwards. And I'd fall for it every time, and I'd massage her, and she'd fall asleep, and then I'd be like, okay, it's my turn. And she's like, oh, no, I can't do it anymore.
You've relaxed me too much.
Oh, man. Yeah.
That's so gorgeous. I love you recognizing that instinctive spark that young kids have to connect with nature and, you know, spend time outside. It's just, it is, isn't it? It's really instinctive and natural at that age.
And it's just natural. It's the way we should be. And I grew up on a property, and I was the youngest of 4 kids, but I was definitely the most prominent to be outside. I was, you know, what you'd call a tomboy. I was out there with Dad all the time, fixing fences, doing stuff with the cows and the animals and, you know, the gardens. I didn't even mind weeding with Mum. And, you know, I hated being inside. I loved being outside. It was my place of balance. And even, you know, how over here we do, because I grew up in New South Wales, so in year 10 there was the school programs where you got to do a work placement program. And I remember in year 10 I actually wanted to go and do a work placement in a massage clinic, but of course, because I was a 15-year-old, there were ethical problems.
Yes.
And, you know, you had to get signed and all these things. And so my next choice was to go with the Australian or the New South Wales Parks and Wildlife. So it was always nature-based, my interests.
Yes.
They were always, it was just, a very clear path for me to head down.
And also, I love how you have recognized how young kids are so open and instinctively interested in the natural world, and how you've created that beautiful set of books for young kids to help wave that ember and make it into a spark. You want to tell us about them?
Oh, thanks, Jess. Yeah, so I've written a Herbal Adventures series of books for kids. And this is for multiple reasons, right? So one, this is just reflective of my parenting journey with my child. We were living in Germany at the time, and I was doing lots of foraging and wildcrafting and, you know, taking my son with me. And I would, as I put him to bed every night, tell him stories. And he was the main character, right? So the main character of these books has a different name, but really it's kind of my son.
Yes.
And so when 2020 came, and we all had, you know, a little bit of extra time on our hands, I decided to write these stories down, and I sent it to a friend, and he said, you should see if you can get that published. I said, well, that's great. And thankfully I did. And the series then was built on wild, edible and medicinal weeds because I wanted kids to understand the value of everything, the value of things that a lot of people disvalue. Or have forgotten. You know, they've fallen out of favour, these particular weeds, in inverted commas, but they're strong medicine, they're beautiful medicine, and they're beautiful first aid remedies.
Yes.
And it's a reminder that you can walk through the park, you can walk in your lawn, you can walk. They're called footpath medicine for a reason. They follow us as much as we follow them.
Yes.
That underfoot, it's not just green grass. There's medicines underfoot. So it was to connect people back to simplicity. It was to connect them back to an appreciation of things that have fallen out of appreciation. And when you look at beautiful people like Nicholas Culpeper, who had translated all of those amazing Latin texts into English for us, so then our European medicines could live on, he intentionally left out really common weeds because he thought they'd never be forgotten.
Oh, wow.
He
So
didn't write on a lot of the common weeds because they were so in your face. He's like, this is impossible to think that people would ever forget about the richness of these weeds. And yet they have. And so this is part of keeping our lineage alive, our storytelling alive. Every culture has storytelling. And this is a way that I feel I can contribute to that.
So beautiful, Ali. And what herbs do those books cover?
Well, the first one, which introduces people to the fact that, plants are medicine and that we can grow plants and use them as food and as medicine, is I picked the most obvious plant that most people would know. You don't have to have any herbal background. It's a dandelion. Beautiful. I mean, what kid do you know that has not picked up a fluff ball of a dandelion and blown his wishes into the wind?
Yes.
Like it's an iconic plant and one that people undervalue because it's everywhere.
Yes.
Plantain is another one, and there's many different varieties of plantain, and they're all used really effectively as food and medicine. Yarrow was the third book in the series, and that's a beautiful food as well as medicine. And the fourth book I'm hoping is due out early next year. And that will be a beautiful weed. I can't say too much, but a beautiful weed that perhaps is a nuance for people. So I'm hoping to shed a different light onto that plant.
Interesting. Oh, that's a little teaser for us. Oh, that's beautiful, Ali. Just children being able to, with their families, ignite that spark. And as you said, it's the remembering, isn't it? Remembering.
It is. And, you and I, we walk this path, right? But most people in our generation have forgotten. They've really forgotten. So the books aren't just for the kids. They're for the parents.
Yes. And
as the parents read and the child has this natural, beautiful curiosity, they're walking through the park with Mum. Mum, I'm going to pick and eat this dandelion. And I know that most mums are going to freak out. And they're going to go, no, you can't eat the dandelion. And the kid goes, but you can.
Actually.
And the children are going to be who bring us back in balance because they trust. And they've still got that language, that open language with nature where they haven't been told to disregard their intuition yet. They haven't been told to block out the whispers of the plants or the winds. And, and just by ergonomics, they're much closer to the soil than what we are, right? Their hearts and their sacral chakras, they're much closer to the earth, and so they've got that deep connection. And as parents, it's a beautiful thing. As any parent will know, our kids teach us as much as we teach them. Maybe even more when we've got that open heart and that open mind.
That's right.
So it's a reminder for the parents too.
And when you speak of heart opening, I think that the kids become the conduit for helping the parents' heart open to the possibilities of what's around us.
Absolutely. And just opening the heart to love, right? Like my son cracked me open, you know, and how fortunate and how, blessed we are to be parents and to the most magnificent little humans.
Yes.
They're just a treasure. So they crack us open in so many different ways. And when we can come into balance with that heart-love resonance, really, that's what nature vibrates at, and then it cracks open a whole new world.
Yes.
It's not just a human world we exist within.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful,
So many
Ali.
ways.
Yeah, so many. So having that really early connection with plants, the outside world, and then intuitively reaching for that natural therapies book that kind of opened your mind a little bit more. I've read also that you had some issues with asthma as a kid, and that was a bit of an eye-opener in terms of natural therapies. Do you want to dive into that with us?
Yeah, so I grew up in a coal mining town in the Hunter Valley. And one of the doctors there, he's actually done a lot of research and published a lot of papers on that particular town having the highest asthma rates in all of Australia. And I was one of those kids. My youngest memory had asthma and croup. I'd wake up in the night, I couldn't breathe. I'd go to school, I couldn't breathe. I had nebulizers, I had steroids, I had puffers. I had trips in the ambulance to the hospital. Must have been horrendous for my mum, just now that I'm a mum, right? Thinking your kid can't breathe. would have been horrible. But yeah, that was my childhood. And so the only sport that I could really do was swimming, and that trained my lungs. And it was a sport that I was comfortable to do without having an asthma attack. And it really wasn't until my 20s, like my parents did the best that they could with the information that was at their hands, but they had forgotten these natural ways. And so natural medicine wasn't part of my childhood. I always grew up on a very good diet. We lived on a farm. It was, I was the youngest of 4 kids. Mum cooked. I think we ate out once a year at Christmas time, like when Mum was off doing Christmas shopping.
Yes.
And so we were raised healthily in that sense, but the medical word was the best way forward for them. Yeah. And in my 20s, I was working for a big medical company, and I was on a trip in Chicago. And being a poorly dressed Aussie in snowy Chicago, I got pneumonia, and it set off my asthma. And I actually hadn't had an asthma attack for a long time. And being, robust in your 20s, I didn't even travel with my inhaler. One of my colleagues was a chronic asthmatic. I spoke with him the next day. I said, I'm really unwell. Don't suppose you've got a second inhaler? And he did, because he was such a serious asthmatic. And that was me growing up. Just for some reason, I thought I was infallible or something and didn't take it with me. Anyway, I ended up really ill and back on all the meds. And I thought, you know what? This saves your life in an asthma attack, but it doesn't get to the underlying cause. It doesn't fix me. I'm just tired of it. I'm done. I'm just done with it all. I don't want to do it anymore. And I'd always, as you know, had an interest in natural medicine. I was working in radiation oncology at the time, seeing lots of people take on board natural medicines and not tell their oncologists about it. And I had always vowed to myself that I was going to learn natural medicine. So I thought, well, you know what? Let's go try this out. Let's go do it. So I was living in Sydney at the time, and I went to a Chinese medicine practice. And this lady couldn't even speak English properly. And I had a good feeling about it because, she's Chinese and she's practicing Chinese medicine. She must know what she's doing. So I tipped all my meds out on the table, grasped my chest, and I said, I can't breathe. Can you help me? And I stuck my tongue out and I showed her my hands because I knew that she was going to take my pulses and look at my tongue.
Yes, yeah.
Anyway, this woman fixed me. She fixed me. She had very minimal, she could speak some English, but it was minimal. And as she put the needles in, she said, I open the window, I open the door. And a lot of acupuncturists will understand that particular model of treatment. And then she put some, because I obviously had pneumonia at the time as well, so I had a few things going on. And so she put some other points in, so my night sweats stopped, my my fever stopped. It was really miraculous, and touch wood, to this day, I've never had a problem since.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful, Ali.
I took her herbal medicines home. She also she also gave me her herbal teas. She goes over to her drawers and pulls out the barks and the roots and the plant medicines, which I didn't know what they were at the time. I could probably hazard a guess now, but I was prepared to try anything, which is often what we see in clinic now, right?
Absolutely.
We see people come to us who are at their wits' end, and they're like, I've done this for a really long time and it's just not working. And I want to try something new. And that's where herbal medicine generally finds people. Yes. When you're just at your wit's end.
And people tend to be quite open to trying things at that point.
Yes, yeah. And it's, I'm just trying to think of the saying, and I can't think of it, but it's along the lines of, you have to be in your deepest, darkest hour before you change your ways. And unfortunately, that was true for me in many cases in my life. But I think it's just reflective of the human condition, if you like. Yes. Many people, and we're seeing that play out, in all sorts of ways around the world at the moment. The human needs to experience. We need to intuit, we need to experience, and we need to feel what is going on with our bodies and with nature, and then we can really embody and understand a practice or the purpose of something, and then we can make necessary changes.
And so, Ali, from that point, was that the time when you decided that you would study natural medicine, or was that a little bit further down the track?
Yeah. No, it was. So, like I said, I was working for that company, and I, not long after, changed companies. And when I was re-employed into this other company who I had worked for before, I negotiated a 4-day week because I wanted to go back and study on the other day. And then they said yes straight away. And I was like, damn, I should have asked for a 3-day week. So anyway, it was okay. I had 3 days to study because I had the weekends and then I had this other day in the week and, of course, the evenings. So it was a pretty busy couple of years. It was pretty full on, but I had also vowed to myself I'd never be a full-time student again because the financial stress and just the stress of that,
Yes.
So it worked well for me. I was still in oncology, but I was working with the herbs, and it started really profound and beautiful conversations with patients and doctors and physicists, and some of them had a good laugh at me because I was going off to do that wacky thing. And one thing I live by is, we all need to have a good laugh at ourselves sometimes, and so I'd make light of it too. And I'm like, yes, I know, I'm going off to do that hippie thing, and honestly, it's been the best thing I've ever done. It's great.
What a story, Ali. Like such a long journey, and now you're here in this place. Yeah, beautiful.
And I don't think I'd do anything differently, to be honest.
No, you're here. So the theme of this podcast is all about self-care, and I'd really like to start just generally. There's an overarching theme. What does self-care mean to you?
Oh, there's so many layers to self-care, isn't there?
There really is.
And as you get older, it grows because you start to reflect upon ways that you've maybe neglected yourself. So self-care is looking after yourself on so many levels. It's the social networks. It's having good nutrition. It's having good sleep. It's having good spiritual health. It's having good physical and mental health. And I'm going to throw boundaries in there as well because especially as a woman and just culturally, how we're raised, all that kind of stuff, I think it takes a good 30, 40 years for us to really build firm boundaries into our healthcare regime. And that's kind of imperative, particularly as you would see also, Jess, in clinic. Our menopausal women, they're exhausted. And the ones that are really burnt out are generally the ones that we need to encourage to put boundaries, whether that be with their boss or with their husbands or with their children or, so boundaries are really important, and that's a really important part of self-care.
I totally agree. I haven't listened to that full episode you're referring to where you spoke about menopause, but I did listen to a snippet, and I heard you speak of, women being brought up as the good girl and to please and to care for others and to, put our own needs last, and menopause being the time that kind of plays out, and it's the time to kind of reflect and reassess and, juggle things around a little.
Absolutely. If you haven't been able to really prioritize yourself before you get to that window, I think your adrenals are generally pretty taxed before they really are invited up for their main show. And then that's when we really need to acknowledge that it's time now because, it's now or never. When are you going to put yourself first? And really, it's not a matter of being selfish. It's not a matter of neglecting anybody else around you. In fact, I would argue the opposite, because we can't give from an empty cup. And when we fill up our cup as authentically as possible, some people, there's different things, right? But you may, if you deeply need an hour a week to read a book, but you, I don't know, once a month go get your hair cut, and you go, oh, well, I gave to myself this month. That's not authentically showing up for yourself. You did something that was necessary. Do you know what I mean? But and so we need to find comfort in, and I'm going to use the word indulgence, which is kind of a two-edged sword, because we kind of think indulgence is self, it's selfish, and it's not. Indulgence is a way of self-honoring, and it meets our needs at a deeper level.
Yeah, it does. It makes me think of one of the flower essences, the bark flower essence. It's one of the chestnuts. I can't remember which one, but one of the key hallmarks of that one is overcare for the welfare of others to the detriment of our own welfare. And,
Absolutely.
that's a really common theme that expresses itself at that time of life.
Serato comes into mind as well.
Yeah.
That, I was always taught Serato was, and this isn't the best terminology, but the doormat, the one that everybody walks on, and, the one that just says, yeah, I'll do what you want. So there's, ladies, there's a beautiful bush flower essence, bark flower essence out there. There's probably the bush flower out there to match that frequency as well. But that's the beautiful thing about herbal medicines, isn't it? They don't just work on the phytoconstituents. They work at an energetic level. It's about matching the energy of the person to the plant, or vice versa. And there's such a power there that is sometimes inexplicable. It's hard to explain to people the dimensions at which our plant medicines can really nurture you.
I think it's really important to help them to tune in, so that when they are using plant medicines, they start to tune into those little shifts that maybe they've just brushed under the carpet before and not really noticed. It's noticing.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And Jess, you're 100% right. Part of a big step on the road to self-care is the noticing.
That's right.
It's the acknowledgement. And that in and of itself can be very confronting for people if they've never been given the luxury of noticing where they need to fill their cup.
Or being, reared to kind of suppress their knowledge of themselves and their needs.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So that really leads us nicely into our next theme, which is, what whispers do you start to notice in yourself when self-care has kind of fallen off the way, or you really know that it's time to step up? And what whispers do you kind of encourage clients that you work with to look for, so that they can start to tune in?
Well, this is where everyone's different, aren't they? And this really comes from our childhood, I think, our patterning and how we've worked to survive in the world, and what our survival patterns, are. So often I journey back into childhood with people, and I help them to identify, the traits that potentially they see reflected back to them when their family say, they snap, or they say, you're not understanding me, or something like that, because the people around us are always a mirror. They're always a mirror. So that's a good point of reference to be able to reflect as objectively as possible, not to be able to self-criticize too much. But where our whole makeup is different. So to pull that back to that part of the question where you asked me my little nudges, I'm quite an adrenal person. So I notice quite easily, like, sensations in my body if I'm too stressed. So that may just be I didn't sleep well, or it may be I'm having trouble focusing, or I'm doing too many things at once. That's a big thing for me. It's like having too many, and I'm just looking at all the tabs on my computer right now. I'm that person. So it's about when that happens, I remind myself it's time to simplify and reduce. And that's something that I have tried to live my life by, particularly in the last 10 years, when I had, 10 years ago, an incident of burnout and health problems that really made me reprioritize how I showed up for my family, but for myself. And it all came back to really simple things. Really simple things. It doesn't, and that's obviously another thing that I speak a lot to my clients about, my patients too, is we've all been sold such complex remedies, such complex solutions, and actually healing's not complex at all. The most complex part is getting out of your own way, and giving yourself the space and time. And again, that requires boundaries. But it's really that chop wood, carry water scenario, and then do it again. So to simplify, to reduce, and to really, when you do that, it puts things in perspective. And the things that were the cream on the top are generally the things that are complicating your life. Because they're not in alignment with who you are at your truest core. So, when I'm out of balance, I just try to refine those things. And I'm human, so sometimes it happens well and sometimes it doesn't. You know, we're all a work in progress.
Yes. Some people are really good at listening into those whispers from a really early age. Others of us, it's a bit of a journey in terms of, you know, in our early teens, 20s, we may not have the capacity to be listening in. What's that journey been like for you?
That's a beautiful question. Okay, so in my childhood, I've always been pretty in tune, and in tune with the spirit world. And so the spirit world, my parents would have told you was an escapism, you know, because they didn't understand. But for me, it was the place of neutrality. It was the place of peace. It was the place of guidance. Unfiltered guidance. There was no judgment there. And so I would escape into poetry, and I would escape into meditation, and I was escape into these things. And then, of course, motherhood comes. And you don't have the time. The demands are different. The responsibilities are different. And so the things that you would have had as self-care don't get prioritized.
Yes.
And so this is just part of maturing, and this is part of balancing the human life and human responsibilities and who we are evolving into. But it's definitely a journey, right? So knowing who I was in my childhood was definitely a beautiful guide for me when things got unbalanced, because I knew how it could be. And so I would try to get back to that. And so, I mean, you know this from, and maybe your listeners know, and maybe they don't. So it's about, you know, when we go into meditation circles, or when we go into either plant medicine or, and I don't facilitate those, by the way, but meditation circles I do, but that's different. And other sorts of guided journeys where we revisit our inner child. Our inner child is incredibly wise, incredibly attuned and in alignment. And if we remember that and we go back and we visit him or her to find out what their whispers are, whether it's fears or whether it's securities, they're teaching moments. And so I often tell people that the medicine they seek is within. And I wholeheartedly believe that. We all carry a toolkit within us. We've all come to this beautiful earth with a toolkit full of ways to deal with this complex world. Sometimes we have been taught or programmed to disregard the strength of those tools, the power of those tools, and we don't realize that something that is inherently built within us is actually really powerful and really strong. So as we get our wobbles, again, reduce and simplify, but go back to that inner child and really connect with them to see what made them feel safe, or what would have made them feel safe, and how can you show up that way.
Yeah, beautiful advice, Ali. I recently attended a workshop with Jane Hardwick Collins on perimenopause, and a big theme was going back to childhood. And what did that 11-year-old girl love? What lit her up when you're entering that menopausal stage, kind of going back and just revisiting? And as you said, like, blinkers are off then, ore is really clear and connection is huge. It was, lovely theme.
And everything is possible because you haven't been taught yet that things aren't. And that's not being taught, that's being misguided. Because we live in a world of creation. And the child knows that, right?
Yes.
And so the child is still full of creativity and imagination. And I'm very passionate about this. One of the biggest lies we have ever been told is it's just your imagination, as if it's something that's false and misguiding you. You know, if the Wright brothers didn't imagine flying in a plane, would we be able to fly in a plane today? Was it Edison that did the light bulb? If he didn't imagine some sort of light that wasn't a glow bug in nature, you know, would we have electricity today? Creation comes from imagining a better world. And this is a pivotal, I'm going to take this on a different tangent, Jess, but it's for self-care, because we're at this pivotal point in history at the moment where we need the visionaries. We need the creators to come and to bring their imagination of a brand new, beautiful, safe and flourishing world to the fore, because we're the people that are going to build that, you know? And so your little 11-year-old self, she knows that anything is possible. And generally, you know, if you're raised in a really conducive way, you're told that a lot of things are possible. If you can dream it, you can do it.
Yes.
And then just by nature of setbacks on our adult journey or our learning journey, it crushes our self-confidence and we think it's not possible. But that's actually a teachable moment. And this is just where the adults around us need to remind us.
Yes.
It's not, okay, it might be a little bit of a setback, but what can we learn from this to refine it so then we can grow through it? Not to say, I'm going to give this up and walk away, but how can we navigate this a different way? Or potentially maybe it is something that isn't going to work because it's not for the greater good of you or for all, but hey, it led to the idea and the birthing of something new.
Yes. Yeah.
So we've still got to keep pushing.
I love that you're touching on the importance of the carers kind of being there and catching and lifting where necessary. I saw something recently, it's at 5 years old, that girls start to stop talking about being the president. You know, that's when the thought processes start to change because of what's around them. And so, you know, if we can change that environment and make it more uplifting at that early formative age, imagine what can happen.
Well, amazing. And I'm just thinking, right, like the brain really isn't fully developed. I think I read until like 21 or something, but those first 8 years are so imperative. And I think Gabor Mate talks a lot about those first 8 years. And so that's kind of heartbreaking to think that at 5 already they've stopped.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, and I think it's a really great point to highlight the responsibility that we have and the power that we can give when we light a spark in someone and we help them to believe it.
Yes.
Because like Marie Curie or Thomas Edison or these people in our history, they didn't get there on their own.
No.
Right? They had an idea, but people around them would have supported them in some way, shape or form for things, you know, to source materials, to write a patent or to have some awareness sent out into the community that this particular thing had been born. So our children need to be reminded that they're in a team. And I think I'm really positive actually about how our children are being raised these days because as generations move through, we have our strengths and our weaknesses, but I really think that we're able to then draw on what we think, and this isn't a criticism to mum and dad because they did the best that they could with their tools, but we try to improve on that for our kids, and there'll be things that we don't do right for our kids that our kids would do better for their kids.
That's right.
But we've just got to, I think, be mindful that little ears and hearts are open and they're listening to everything, and that
soaking it all in.
Yeah, the power of our word is strong, and our actions.
It is. And I think that's kind of touching a little bit on barriers and how important what's around us is, what is in life, but also in our ability to invest in self-care. You know, that plays a huge part in how able we feel and how much we value ourselves. What are some other barriers that you've come across, Ali, in terms of investing in self-care for yourself?
Off the back of what we've just discussed, the thing that's coming to mind is obviously societal or programmed beliefs, which are beliefs, right? They're not real. They're not real. So as a woman, you know, who's a mother who went from being a career woman to being a mother in a more holistic way of existing, the income differences are there. They're noticeable. So for me, I over-justify or under-justify, I should say, my worth on having something. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, oh no. And this is a mother's journey. I'm going to give that to my kids instead of myself. And every now and then I remind myself, well, actually, you know, the advice that I give to my patients, you need that too. So, being aware, like you said, it's the awareness, being aware of those sorts of things.
And I think too, remembering what we were just talking about and what sponges our kids are. If he can see you prioritising yourself, what does that mean for him down the track?
Well, that's right. That's exactly right. Yes, or for her, if you've got a daughter, you
that's
know.
Right.
And, they pick up differently from their mums and their dads accordingly. But, we've really, the way we treat ourselves, and self-talk is really important. Particularly, you know, I'm just thinking of some mums that I've helped over the time where they've really battled with physical self-worth. And weight and things like that. And their little girls, they hear this.
Yes. Yeah.
And they dress differently or they do their hair differently. And mum is just being in her own little world and trying to look after herself because she's seeking care, but not understanding or being aware, I should say, that the way mum treats herself, the little ones are watching.
Yeah.
They absorb everything. And so it's quite hard. It's quite hard to always be that present, to be that present.
And that can be a really long thread, right? Like all the way back to mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. How have those people spoken to themselves, cared for themselves, valued themselves?
Absolutely, it's generational. It's definitely generational. And it can be quite confronting if you're the one that's really going to take those steps to change, to take action. So then your daughters or your sons for their wives and their daughters have a different perspective. And even sons just for themselves, because obviously the masculine needs to be held as well as the feminine.
And valued, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What sorts of rituals and routines using plant medicine do you love to weave into your days for self-care, Ali?
Well, I can't go past a good herbal cup of tea.
Yes.
That's in every day.
What's been your favourite blend lately?
Oh, well, I've got a beautiful menstrual blend that I take, that I drink during my menstrual bleed. So that one has been the most recent for me. I drink that every month. It just restores my blood. It restores my chi. It just brings me back into balance. It's a beautiful mix.
Tell us about some of the herbs in that one.
Oh, beautiful. So I also have endometriosis, which is managed through my herbs and good diet and all that kind of stuff. And so sometimes I get a particularly heavy bleed, as a lot of women do. And the herbs in this particular menstrual tea helps to stop the bleeding. Because, anybody with adenomyosis, which is a condition of extreme heavy bleeding, and endometriosis, which is a painful uterine condition as well as can affect your blood flow, may have experienced this heavy flow. And it can be quite upsetting. It can be quite disruptive to your day, to your work. And I don't want to take medications. I'm okay if other people want to do that, but for me, I don't want to, and I manage that through my herbal medicines, either in tincture form or tea. But I've got a beautiful blend that's got herbs like capsella, shepherd's purse, like lady's mantle and yarrow, and nettle to rebuild the blood. So there's beautiful herbs in there that are nutritive to restore your energy, but also uterine tonics and styptics, things that are going to reduce the blood flow. And I find that to be a really effective and tasty, something that I can enjoy. Because, sometimes we have to take something and we don't enjoy it. I want to be mindful with my cup of tea, and I want to enjoy it. And being a naturopath and a herbalist, my life is about plants. So I'm fortunate enough that I know how to blend them in a way that they taste nice. And to be enjoyed, because that's important.
That's a big part of my tea blending as well, Ali. I always make sure that it's going to be tasty, because otherwise who's going to drink it? They'll have one cup and then go, not having more of that one.
I know. And that's part of the blending process, right? We've all made a bad cup of tea.
Won't do that blend again.
Okay. No.
Oh, beautiful. That sounds like a really lovely, supportive blend. I love how you're balancing out the styptics with the blood building. That's such a nice combination.
Yeah, well, when you're losing blood, you need iron, you need vitamin K, and all those B vitamins to give you energy, because you've got no energy. And nettle is one of those plants that's just a powerhouse. It's just got everything in it.
Yeah, so lovely.
It's just a magnificent plant.
I call it my herbal multi.
Oh, that's gorgeous. I love that. I might steal it.
So lovely. So you're obviously a very passionate tea drinker. Are there any other ways that the plants make their way into your days for self-care?
Well, they make my way into my meals, normal kitchen type herbs into the foods that we eat. And I know that you and Caroline Parker did a beautiful food and herb workshop, those sorts of ways. But for me as well, sacred smokes are really important. I do a lot of, cleansing of the spirit, because spiritual health is really important for me as well. And working with the smoke of certain plants is really important for me.
Do you want to dive into that a little bit more for those who aren't familiar with that process?
Yeah, sure. So the most common way people might be introduced to that is through smudging. You smudge, or your incense sticks, for instance. They're all, depending on how your incense sticks are sourced. If you get one that's blended with pure herb, then you've got the pure herb. Some of them are adulterated. But I like to work with mugwort, for instance. Mugwort is specific to my bloodline lineage, and it's a plant that over the years I have built a really beautiful relationship with and continue to build. And she works most powerfully for me in spirit, in smoke, in cleansing and holding the space. Through the lineage that I work with out of the Andes in Peru, my teachers there have gifted me beautiful Palo Santo. Palo Santo is beautiful. It's an endangered plant, tree, so I will only use it if it comes to me through the right sources and in small amounts. and in ceremony where it is honouring the lineage that plant comes from. And then it's appropriate to use it. So yeah, different plants. Sage is another beautiful plant. I do grow my own sage. I don't like buying sage because of the endangered and sourcing practices that are generally around sage, but it's such an easy plant to grow, and it's a really powerful one, and one that probably isn't most well known, but is really powerful, is rosemary.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And very easy to grow and access.
So easy in this climate. Yeah, beautiful.
So when you're using herbs in that way, Ali, are you taking in the herb into your body in terms of inhaling the smoke, or is it more about what the herb's doing to your space and to the spiritual element?
I have it on my altar and I have it around myself and my space, and so if I'm in a circle, I want to cleanse the circle. I do know people that inhale it and use their pipes, just really because of my, well, not just because, but it's certainly a factor of my asthma heritage.
Yes.
I choose not to smoke. But once you're on the frequency and the energy of the plant, you actually don't need to ingest it. And it's once you build that relationship with a plant, you can still have it as tea, which is actually the way our bloodline, our lineage would have used a lot of these medicines. So there's teas and soups, but the smoke is really, I find, really quite potent and really powerful. And even just sitting with a plant. I don't know if Jane Hardwick Collins, because I know she does a lot of beautiful work, if she did any of that with you in your childhood exploration, but just sitting with the power of the plants is really amazing. It's just like me sitting here with you right now, Jess.
Yes.
We don't actually need to talk to one of another. I could, really tune in if I wanted to and really feel what your energetic field is. And it's like that with our plants. They don't have a tongue and a mouth like we do, but they certainly have ways of communicating.
And it's tuning into that energetic exchange.
Absolutely. Yes. And they are really receptive.
Yes.
They, some plants, you need to undergo certain other initiatory pathways, but mostly they're thrilled that we're remembering and that we're taking the time and we're being present with them and that we're communicating. And then once you're in that moment of presence and open-heartedness and open-mindedness, what you receive from the plant, there's a mutual respect there. So they give you what they know that you are willing to receive, and you receive by honouring the plant, and then you're going to look after the plant, and so there's a reciprocity there that I think a lot of people aren't even aware takes place because it's in that subtle energy plane. But and you're shaking your head, once you start working with plants, there is just this energetic understanding and a stewardship that occurs. And it's natural and it blossoms and it's beautiful.
I think too, if we can, help people see that they're already experiencing these kind of relationships, even just on a walk through the bush. Just a simple, the way that makes you feel when you're walking out in nature without even having any awareness of what we've just spoken about, you're feeling that exchange and you feel better for it.
Absolutely. And science now catches up, Jess.
Yes.
We've got all the studies on forest bathing and how the ions can be balanced and how cardiovascular systems, the blood pressure and the cholesterol can reduce dramatically from a period of time in the forest. And we've got companies now that bring the forest to you with earthing sheets and earthing footrests and, all these beautiful things, which doesn't actually replace getting out there.
Yes.
But, for the people that live in cities, right,
Yes.
I think it's a really beautiful way that they're able to calm a frazzled nervous system where there's so much electric smog and other things that are disruptive to our endocrine, our nervous systems.
Yes.
science catches up with what traditional wisdom has intuited for so long. And sorry.
No.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, you know, that's a testament to what we were just talking about earlier about the intuition that our inner child has.
Yes.
And it's being connected to nature, and it's the experience of being human, in that we shouldn't lose the capacity to be creative, but to intuit this world. This world is meant to be felt and emotionally felt and experienced, rather than knowledge, thought. You know, that helps us to stay safe, and it's a critical role. However, it shouldn't be the primary, and we've been a bit out of balance where that has been the primary. But I really think more and more people, because it has, it's brought some really beautiful advancements to the way we live, but potentially burnt us out in many capacities. And now the pendulum swings back the other way, and we're going to find that balance again where we can bring those two worlds together. And there's actually many tribal prophecies, but the one I will speak of is through the lineage that I work with in the Andes, where it speaks of the eagle and the condor flying together, which is representative of that science mind and the spiritual heart coming back together again. So, you know, we do live in a continual spiral of time. And that's why history repeats itself, because, you know, it's part of physics, it's part of quantum physics, and the pendulum swings. And now we're reaching a height, and we're about to come back, which I think is a beautiful thing, because we're coming back into balance.
Yes, it's so
hard
important.
to see at the moment, but I really think that is going to happen.
Yes, our society has valued intellect above all else for a long time, so I think it is time for that pendulum to swing back.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between education and wisdom. You can learn something on a piece of paper and you can recite the values and the statistics, but until it's embodied, until it's felt and experienced, then it can't be wisdom. And we're in that transition, or that gateway, that portal right now, where unfortunately a lot of people are having to experience things that on paper we know, right? But it has to be felt, it has to be embodied for evolution to change, because we're energetic people.
Yes.
Things.
Yeah. We've started to touch on some of the benefits that we can experience when we are able to invest in self-care regularly. One of those being that we're more open and intuitive. What are some other benefits that you notice in yourself when you're able to tune in and respond to your body and your mind?
Oh gosh. So much. Like I said before, I'm an adrenal person. So it calms my whole spirit down, my whole body down, my spirit down. I'm back in alignment. I can think clearly. I can make good judgments and choices, and my health improves. But my connection not just with the people around me, which is so important, but my connection with myself and with nature is strengthened. And I know when I've wobbled, because the connection wobbles. Yes. And it's just like, you know, you're driving the car and you go through a black part and the radio goes, it's like that, right? Yes. And you've got to retune the radio. You really have to find the dial to get the right little needle part, to get the station back in alignment. That's the best way I can describe how I live my life. Yeah.
I love it. And that kind of perpetuates that positive cycle of, you know, you feel more like you're caring for yourself, so your intuition is more open and you're able to listen in and continue to care for yourself. But I think it's recognizing that wobbles will happen.
Absolutely. Yes. And they have to happen. So I'm a big believer that these wobbles have to happen for growth to occur, because growth doesn't occur in comfort. It really doesn't. And, you know, you think of the seed that we plant in our gardens all the time. what do? We put it in the dark. It's covered in soil, and it's this, like, it's even got a case around the seed, and it has to burst through the case to get the moisture, and it's in the dark. It's got no idea which way it's going, but maybe there's a little glimmer of light. And it heads up to the light, and it says, yeah, baby, I'm here, and it unfurls, and this seedling comes out, and there'll be times where there's drought or there's a pest that eats the leaves, and then it builds its chemical resilience, or it grows deeper roots to be able to get water sources deeper within the earth. So times of adversity are times of growth. And I think if we can remind ourselves that, it helps put in perspective, and it helps to remind us that there's an end. That, this too shall pass. And that if I can become the observer in this moment, what wisdom can I learn here? Can I take with me? So that doesn't just fill me, because when I'm full, then I'm full and I'm radiant, and then I'm able to give. And then that gives to our community. It gives to our family, our friends. And that, I think, is a beautiful message for people right now. There's so much that's happening outside of us. We need to pull it back in, and we need to really tend to the core of the seedling first, so then we can let that bloom and blossom out into the rest of the garden, i.e. the world, because change happens here.
And it builds resilience too, right?
It does. Yes, but a good type of resilience, not the resilience out of, the need to survive, but resilience out of growth and transition.
We've talked about your beautiful menstrual herbal tea blend. Do you have any other special recipes or rituals around self-care with herbs that you'd like to share?
Oh, you can't go past a herbal bath, a sitz bath. So for certain conditions, there's certain herbs that you just pop in the bath with you. And this is a way you can get the essence of the plant. And it's going to, your skin is another organ, as you know, Jess. But it's another organ, and it's receptive to a lot of things. And sometimes when we're unwell, or we can't possibly stomach another cup of tea, or, a bath is a way of self-care. But it's a way that allows us a ritual as well as a medicine. I think we think baths are just pretty little things, but the essence of the plant within the water of your bath can be really quite powerful for a lot of conditions.
What sorts of herbs do you like to put into a bath, Ali?
You can't go wrong with rose, can you?
Yes.
Rose is such a beautiful, it's just a heart opener. It's love. It's a healer, an absolute master healer. And it's fragrant. So at the very least, you get this beautiful fragrance. It's great for the skin. Chamomile and oat I love in baths as well for the skin properties. Oh, look, there's so many, Jess. So many.
I have lots of calendula at the moment, and rose, and, just the ritual of going out and picking some herbs from your garden to put into your bath is the beginning of self-care, right?
It absolutely is. And it's the beginning for our kids to play with plants and to bring that bath time expression, that bath time play, to life, literally to life, rather than a plastic toy. Or maybe they've got a plastic toy that's carting all the
flowers
herbs to market, right? But you can put it all in there. But again, that stimulates creativity and imagination, but it's experiential. They're experiencing nature in a way that is safe and fun and nurturing.
I remember when my youngest was small, she had quite sensitive skin, and we'd get an old sock and pop the chamomile and the calendula flowers in with the oats, and then pop it on the tap, and then all that beautiful deliciousness would end up in the bath, and then she can play with the sock. Oh, it was just, so
Yes,
lovely.
it's the best. They
Yeah.
love it. And when you make the little bath bombs with them,
Yes.
they love it. Beautiful. So, and bath bombs are pretty easy to make. So for your listeners, there's Google it. There's lots and lots of recipes out there with ingredients that you've probably got
in your
garden,
pantry.
in your cupboard.
Yes.
Yep.
My daughter's 11 and she's showing a huge amount of interest in what I do at the moment. And she has an idea that we're going to do a workshop together on making herb-inspired Christmas gifts. And her brain is exploding with ideas. When you mentioned the bath salts, that's on her list, a very long list.
I love this. I just love it. My son has just done the same thing, actually, and he wants his own stall because he usually helps me at my market stalls. Yes. But he said, this year, Mum, for Christmas, I want to do my own stall and you're going to help me.
Oh,
so, sure.
You're his apprentice.
It's fun. And, this is the moment as a mum, right, where you're just, and they're 11. So they're getting older and that, interests change, but that influence is still there. And that's our greatest legacy, really, because even in their 20s, if they forget it for a bit and then hopefully come back, that's their roots. That's their roots.
So precious. So precious.
So good luck to your daughter. I can't wait to see what she makes. Yes. Have you got a little market near you that you're going to sell those at?
We're going to actually do a workshop teaching people how to make them.
Oh, the workshop. Yes, of course. Oh, my goodness. Oh,
and she wants to teach, so that's amazing.
That's the best. Yeah. Oh, I wish I'd lived closer.
I know.
In another state. Otherwise, I would be there with bells on.
Oh, she's so inspired. Ali, this is a very hard question to finish up our chat. And it's like asking you to choose a favourite child, I know. But I'd really love to hear what plant you have the deepest connection with and why that is.
Oh, man. There's so many, but I could tell you my top 4.
Do it. We'd love to hear them.
Mugwort. For so many reasons. Licorice and ginkgo have literally saved my life.
Tell us about those. Yeah.
That's another podcast, but I was in hospital in 2018 and licorice stabilized my blood pressure and ginkgo repaired my brain and marshmallow is a plant that I use in practice. Oh, passion flower. Oh, it's such a hard question. And such a hard question. But marshmallow is one that I use in children's mixes, in my mixes. It grows in my garden. It's a beloved friend. It's beautiful in teas. It's a really versatile plant.
For those who don't know, tell us about some of the ways why you love marshmallow and what you use it for.
So marshmallow is a really beautiful demulcent herb. It's really great for gastrointestinal and respiratory issues. So you imagine the tube from our mouth to our anus. It's all the same sort of cells. And marshmallow coats that beautiful inner mucous membrane and she protects it and she soothes it when it's irritated. And, she's tasty too, which is awesome. She's pretty. She gives integrity back to that mucous membrane. She holds it. She's just, but gently, she's got a strength through a gentleness that reminds me of a grandma, a grandma with her floral tablecloths and everything. But man, if you mess with grandma, so grandma has this strength, but she never asserts it. She's just, she just holds it. She's just powerful in and of her own right, and that is marshmallow for me. And she even looks like a grandmother flower if you've seen her flower. She's just an absolutely delightful plant. Kids love her in their mixes, in their teas, and when you touch her leaves, she's so soft.
Yes,
so soft.
Yes.
So she's a nurturer. She's an absolute nurturer.
And a really wonderful alternative for that rare plant, slippery elm.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. So, yeah, for people with those gastrointestinal upsets, some reflux issues, marshmallow is just the master soother. It's really,
Yes.
she's really an unsung hero. Oh my God, they're all coming in. Plantain, all of them.
I love that though. That was like a little ode to marshmallow, a little love letter.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely in love with marshmallow. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Well, we could chat for hours, Ali. I know we could, but we'd better wind it up. Thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed chatting with you and lots of beautiful wisdom shared for our listeners.
Thanks so much for having me, Jess. And before we go, I'd love to quickly know what your favourite herb is.
Oh, Ali, put me on the spot. The one that just popped straight into my head at the moment, as I'm like you, there's a list as long as my arm, but Tulsi just jumped into my head. I love Tulsi in a tea. I've been combining her with licorice, with cinnamon. Tulsi and
Either
cinnamon
of those
tea.
would be beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. I've got a beautiful plant growing in my garden that Sally Kingsford Smith gifted me. So she's flowering, and I just beautiful, uplifting energy, vitality, beautiful flavour. Love.
It tastes so good.
Yes.
Yeah, mixed with cinnamon. Beautiful.
Absolutely
Thanks
gorgeous.
I had to ask.
Yeah.
You've asked that question.
You've turned the table.
I had to ask you.
Thanks so much, Ali.
Thanks, Jess.
I'm so glad you tuned into this episode of Self-Care with Herbs, a segment of the Elder Tree podcast. The Elder Tree is a non-profit dedicated to putting the medicine in the hands of the people through grassroots herbal education and earth skills, weaving a strong community of herbalists, healers and plant folk in Australia. If you'd like to dive a little deeper, you can head over to our Patreon, the Elder Tree Trove, to access special content from our podcast guests. I hope you found something in this episode that has inspired you to begin to lean into those plant allies and to experience your practice of self-care blossoming and blooming. I look forward to sharing more ways you can weave plant medicine into your days next month.